Hello guys, and some really good news to start our weekly update with. The Ukrainian Armed Forces move deeper inside the Kursk region, continue our advances near Sudzha to the northeast. Something nobody expected was possible, but Ukraine is the country that keeps persuading you we will win this war and Russia is weak, even if supported by the North Korean soldiers who didn't turn out to be good warriors. This week in general brought lots of losses and failures to the Russian Federation, starting from the end of Russian gas dominance in Europe after Ukraine stopped the transit. Ukrainian drones visited St. Petersburg and sent some beautiful messages to the Russian port Ust-Luga, which they use as home to the Shadow Fleet. We have neutralized a number of command points in Kursk region, and now it becomes quite obvious why. And for the first time in history, Ukrainian sea drone Magura V5 neutralized 2 Russian helicopters. This is super important because that's for the first time in history that a marine object destroys an aerial one directly from the sea. And under the influence of all of these failures, Russia keeps losing its geopolitical influence, specifically in Central Asia and former Soviet republics like Armenia and Azerbaijan, and we can hear the sound of Russian economy collapsing. So let's have a look at these achievements of Ukraine in 2025. And it's just the beginning, and yes, I believe this will be the year of the Kremlin's collapse. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia and also protect yourself from the hybrid warfare, which is a form of the Kremlin agony, subscribe. We discuss all of that on the channel. And let's start with the continuation of the Kursk offensive or counteroffensive, because an important reminder, we only need Ukrainian 1991 borders. And I believe that more and more Russians realize that is also what they need. As Ukrainian armed forces continue to move inside Kursk region to the northeast of Sudzha, capturing more and more of the Russian territories and illustrating to the world how weak, vulnerable, unprepared to defend itself Russia and North Korea is, because you remember this very toxic precedent of North Korea sending its regular army to Russia to help them fight in Kursk, and you see it failed totally. From what we know, and there is not much information, which is actually wise if we want to keep moving deeper inside the toxic federation. So from what we understand, Russia had rotation between some of its units, also heavy celebration of the New Year. It's quite typical in Russia to go literally dead for a couple of weeks just because you have a different year on the calendar. Perhaps that's the only way to survive in that miserable reality. By the way, we have a good video about this Russian paradox that I will link here. And using this opportunity, while other units were moving, we destroyed that convoy and started our advances deeper in Kursk region. Russians are panicking. I love reading comments on Telegram channels and how the military vloggers are irritated with constant Russian comments like everything goes according to the plan when they can see Ukrainian tanks moving inside Russia. A kind reminder to those who still believe Russia is strong, have a look at what is happening to this collapsing empire. 2024 definitely reminded us that it is a paper tiger, or as many of my smart and beautiful friends, subscribers say, toilet paper tiger. And we have done another bad thing for the Russian economy when Ukraine stopped Russian gas transit on the 1st of January 2025, everything according to the agreements, and we gave 3 years to our European partners to substitute Russian gas, And they did it because there is enough gas on the planet. Now Norway, the United States, and Qatar supply them, and most importantly, guarantee them freedom from any Russian blackmail. And we know that the Kremlin often used its energy as an instrument of threats, of blackmail, of power. We don't want that in the 21st century. So congratulations to all the countries who freed themselves from the Russian gas. Subscribe to see how their economy, politics, and military collapse in 2025. This will definitely be the year bad for Russia. And share these videos on your social media platforms to help us fight against Russian narratives and propaganda that still deceives some naive people who actually know very little about Russia and have never been to the cities inside this federation. Moscow and St. Petersburg is definitely not the ones to judge Russia by. But even these big, loved by Putin's regime cities are vulnerable because the Ukrainian drones have paid a visit to the largest Russian commercial port in Ust-Luga, really close to St. Petersburg. Why was it important? Because right now Russia uses this port to avoid sanctions, and also it is home to Russia's shadow fleet. And I don't need to explain you why this fleet is a curse for planet, as many of the Russian exports are. Well, first of all, because it undermines laws, agreements, a world order, but also it's super dangerous for the world ecology. And they do a lot of harm using this long ago outdated tankers that collapse from time to time in clean and beautiful waters of our oceans, and all because Russia disrespects human life and nature. And we see that by the number of losses they are ready to accept for just a couple of kilometers that they managed to grasp. And Ust-Luga was the port targeted for the second time, and most importantly, it's very close to St. Petersburg, a city symbolic for Putin's political career. It began from St. Petersburg, and what is interesting, it's impossible to hide problems in such big cities as Kremlin or St. Petersburg, and it's all over the Russian news. They had to stop the work of the airports, and oh my God, more and more of the Russian population realize that not everything goes according to the plan. And especially when they read about these historic events when Ukrainian Magura V5 drone, sea drone, destroyed 2 Russian combat helicopters, Mi-8, near Sevastopol. Crimea is Ukraine. And this is beautiful what our Ukrainian drones can do, because these sea drones are responsible for the destruction of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. The leftovers escaped to Novorossiysk in Russia, where they actually belong. But since recently, our marine drones are capable of targeting flying objects, and no Russian helicopters, no Russian bombers will now feel safe above the Black Sea. And that's good, taking into account that we develop our Ukrainian missiles, new missiles like Peklo, Palyanytsia, then Trembita. Many of them will be capable of reaching military objects close to Moscow and even deeper inside Russia. So I hope that this beautiful strategy to demilitarize the Russian Federation will continue and grow stronger, bigger, louder, and brighter in 2025. Subscribe to witness that together. And this week we have targeted Russian command points with inexpensive Ukrainian drones and HIMARS, and it happened twice, at least for Kursk region. In Lvov and in Mariina, a number of Russian commanders were sent to strengthen Russian troops in hell. You know, soon there will be 1 million of lost souls, but they become lost the moment they violate international laws and cross the border of the independent, strong, and freedom-loving nation of Ukraine. Remember, when you feel sorry for some Russian soldiers, they always have a choice. Ukrainian defenders, every Ukrainian citizen, We don't have a choice. We protect our land. They came here and they destroy our schools, hospitals, and lives. And Russians, they do have a choice. They do it for money and because of hatred, because of jealousy, nothing else. And every soldier actually has a choice, and that's what they choose. So the moment they make this wrong choice, the place in hell is prepared for them. And actually, Ukrainian drones make it happen faster. And with Ukrainian missiles, it can be even more faster. And of course, all of these troubles that Russia encounters in different fronts reflect on its economy. And just after the new year, Russian ruble dived, made a nosedive. I even had to Google this phrase. And they had to pay like 111, 113 rubles for just $1, which is insane. And with all the efforts that Russian professional economists and the head of the central bank apply, they are not able to control this fall. And I think that in 2025, it will be faster and more deadly. And it reminds me actually the 90s, before the collapse of the Soviet Union, 1998, with serious financial crisis for Moscow. So they tried to change something and switch to this Soviet-style centralized economy, but it's not a solution, taking into account that with war economy, you need competitiveness, you need different teams involved. That's what we have in Ukraine with drones development, missiles, and other protection and defense industries. And in Russia, they fail. And they started, actually, I watched one BBC video, not a Ukrainian video, but a BBC video about Russian supermarkets selling butter in specific like this plastic boxes so that you cannot steal it. It will beep when you go out. In Ukraine, even caviar, which is expensive or super expensive alcohol, is not put into such boxes. And in Russia, butter, ordinary butter, is sold like that. So definitely it's not a sign of Putin's success. And we see that lots of former Soviet republics sense this weakness, and after this awful crime of Russian air defense when they shot down a civilian plane of Azerbaijani Airlines, Putin wanted to hide this problem and did not allow for the crew to land the plane close and made them fly across the Caspian Sea, hoping they would collapse. That is an even bigger crime from my perspective, and they survived. And there is evidence that the Kremlin could not deny, and still Putin tried not to express his sympathy and not like to speak openly about the accident. And the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, humiliated him and openly spoke about the Russian crime. And we know about another tragedy in 2014 of MH17. And this is like a collection of awful Russian crimes that if Putin was stopped before the invasion and annexation of Crimea, lots of lives would be saved. And these are not just lives of Ukrainians. And you see that. And after the loss of Syrian influence, after the loss of influence in Azerbaijan, in Armenia, it will all continue just as a domino effect. So honestly, without any exaggeration, I think that 2025 will bring lots of important updates for us to discuss on the channel, as we will see a tremendous and fast collapse of the Kremlin regime. And that's important for the safety and security of the world. And our task is just to remain strong and united, and I know we can do it. Please help me spread this information by sharing videos on different social media platforms. Our Blue Sky community is growing fast, 7,000 friends soon. Join me there. You will find the link in the description of this video, same as links to my Instagram, Threads, X, and Discord community. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. This means a lot, gives lots of opportunities to work more, film more, and write more. And I'm always grateful for this support of yours. Check our merch shop for lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. But most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Together we will win. Slava Ukraini!